So once again, welcome to the lecture number 32 of the machine learning course. In this session, we are going to talk about the neural network that we were discussing from the last class, and we are going to continue our discussion. So in case you have any question, you may please type. So I would quickly start from the thing that we have done in the last class, and we will build upon that to go to few more important things that are there into the course. So all right, so in the last class we have seen that there was a data and we wanted to find out that what is the right classification for a new item. So we have seen that if we can plot it, looks like that the data is linearly separable. So we have thought that if it looks like that there is a linear decision boundary, if somebody can give me this particular equation, then I can find out the classification of all these points. Equation was this. We have seen that it looks like that the two features here, in our case two features were there. It looks like that the first feature is multiplied by some number, second feature is also multiplied by some number, that is a weight, and third there is a independent weight. So we can think that the first value is multiplied by some weight, second value is multiplied by some weight, third value is actually added, and we can think that it is multiplied by 1 also. So if we assume in this way, then we can represent this particular equation in using this particular pictorial representation. So this was clear to everybody in the last class. So in case if you have any questions, please ask, let me know. That this equation can be represented by this pictorial representation, and this representation is called the perceptron. So perceptron is a technical term. So when we say that find out a perceptron for this particular data, so what does it mean? It means that you are going to discover these weights, parameters. So finding out this parameter is actually very important with respect to a database. And the idea of the perceptron is this: perceptron can be represented using this pictorial representation. However, it essentially represents a linear equation. Any questions on that? We have seen a method that is called the perceptron training rule. It says that if you want to train if you find out the right parameter, what you should do, you should use any random parameters, and then you modify those parameters using this equation. What is this equation? It says that what is the target value, means what value you wanted for that particular training example, and what is the output of your model. Output of your model would be based on the equation only. So you use these two values and you multiply with the eta, that controls that how quickly you are going to converge, and then there is a x that tells that with respect to which attribute you are going to find out the value of w. So this was the equation that we have seen in the last class. So using this kind of modification, if you do the modification sufficient number of time, then you would be able to converge. So this is an example. We have also seen this into the last class, that we started with all the values. What we started by saying that let's assume that all the values are 0.5. We have seen that there were 7 errors. But when we modified our weight using this perceptron training rule, we find out that weight becomes this. The weight becomes changed and the number of errors from reduced from 7 to 6. So we have seen that if you keep doing this multiple number of time after so many steps, you would be able to, after enough number of steps, you would be able to reach where the error is actually going to be 0. So this is the point actually we are interested in, that we want to find out that a point where error is actually going to vanish. This is my interesting point, that I want to get the error vanished. Only thing that you have to note down from here, that if you see that the error was 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, it was reducing, continuously reducing, but after that 4 to it becomes 5. Means if you modified, when you modified this particular weight, your error actually increase. You are thinking that error is going to reduce. This happens because in this equation we are going to modify the weights with respect to the misclassified examples only. So what may happen that in the process, that when I'm going to make the things good for one example, I may make that bad for the other examples. So a visual representation also we have seen in the last class, but this is what is the important thing, that this is how we find out the parameter for perceptron. Okay, this we have seen in the last class. Any question till now? So this is how we have seen that how we kind of explode the parameter. Then after this thing, one thing after perceptron, we actually talked about in the last class what is the neuron. Okay, neural network. So technically we have not talked about here, and later we would be more talking about this. But let us understand this fact that neural network, that whenever people talk about the neural network, that it is a biologically motivated learning model that mimic the human brain. So we actually want to bring the process in which the human thinks into the computers. So it started by W. McCulloch, that we have seen in the last class, that he have actually presented the working model of the neuron around in 1943. So we will be seeing some historical things very soon. And into the history, we know that Madeline was the first system that was introduced that actually can eliminate the echoes from the phone lines. This was the first kind of a neural network based system that was used. And we would see the history very soon. So neural network architecture, if you are not very much expert of that, but it looks like something like this, that where there is some cell that does all the processing, and this cell is an important part, okay, where all the processing happens. So this cell gets input from somewhere. These are the dendrites provide the input to him. Cell is going to be provided some inputs using dendrites. So dendrites provide some input and it does some processing, and after that whatever its output is, it sends to the axons, and axons are going to take the output, and they are going to be connected with the other neurons, and therefore their output is going to be given to the other neurons. So this particular part is very important, this thing, because you know that if there is say one neuron, and it is going to get the inputs over here, and there is another neuron over here, and it wanted to find out some inputs from here. So what is needed, that it's a dendrite, and this neuron, this axon should connect. So axon should be something like this, and neuron should be something like this. They are going to connect. So can you see this? So this is the way they are going to be connected. This connection is called the synaptic connection. And very important thing is this, that discovery of this thing, that between two neurons there is some synaptic connection, is very important. Actually, what it says, that these two things are independent. This says that these two things are independent and they are connected using some kind of mechanism. So this synopsis is very important, that actually clears that there is a gap between these two things, and therefore the two units are actually separate and they are independent. Make sense? Then there is a concept of molecules that tells that if this want to send the higher signal to the next neuron, what would happen, that it would send some molecules from here to here. Okay. We have also explored in the last class that humans have a lot of neurons in their brain, around 10 to the power 11 neurons, and each of them are connected to the 10 to the power 4 others. So this is going to be a very large number. Still now we are not able to build such a complex system. Because of this complex system, and however the switching time of human brain is very less, reaction time is very less, around 10 to the power minus 3 seconds, but because of this complexity, human can do the things very fast. Make sense? Just think about the computers, where this number is actually 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power minus 9. Computers are very fast, and if you put these many complex things over here, you may think about the miracles that can happen with the computer systems. So today, briefly, I just wanted to talk about some of the how can I rotate this? Is it possible to rotate? I don't know. So briefly, I wanted to discuss some of the history that is actually associated with the neural networks. That is also very important to know. So let me tell you that people were actually talking about what is the neural networks very early, means around 1900, or you can think that around 1880 or so, people were talking about that what is neuron, what is brain, what is neuron. So people were talking about very early that what is the neuron, and then they have come up with the ideas that how the things are going to happen, and they actually has a clear idea that actually what is the structure. But around 1943, when the computer came, McCulloch, etc., actually presented a way that what is the neural architecture means, what is the mathematical architecture of this neural network. That they actually were the first one who told that looks like that there is some cell and some values are going to be given over there, and then there is a function, and then on this function there is some activation is applied and you get the output. Okay, so the only difference between their architecture and the current architecture is this, that they were telling that the value is directly going fit to the this particular thing, cell, and this cell is going to be then processing and then you're going to give you the output. So this was the start of the neural network based processing, when somebody has given that what is the mathematical or the architectural aspect and how we can represent as an architecture to the neural network. Then very important thing comes, then if you have a architecture, you want to learn it, means you want to modify the weights, how to modify the weights. So Hebbian method actually that came around 1947 very quickly. He talked about Hebbian learning. What does it mean? That if few things are connected and actually looks like that they are going to participate in some other decision process. So because you know that the neurons are going to be connected in some weird way, so you can think that one neuron is going to be connected with the other neurons. So into the decision process, if you think that something has come up and because of this you are going to get your answer is going to be generated by, let's assume, by this particular line. Okay, let's assume that there is some line that is going to generate the output, then the weights in this particular line should be increased. He had given this thing that if the things are going to be in this way, then the weights of that particular line should increase. So this is the actually Hebbian learning. People talked about this particular method, and sorry, I just have to end this. So as I told you that this is the first thing. Then after, since you know that this was the architecture of perceptron, then multi-level perceptron also came into the existence. People were talking about that that you can arrange them into the layers and you can create a network. So multi-layer perceptron, the idea of multi-layer perceptron came around 1965, because people have thought that only having a single perceptron may not be that efficient. So if we can use multiple perceptron, then we can be better. We can build the better systems, more powerful systems. Around 1990, I think I have just forget about few things. Okay, so I was here. Okay, sorry. Okay, I was here that Hebbian, we had talked about Hebbian learning. Then after Hebbian learning, there was a concept of cybernetics. Actually, this talks about that things can be scaled. For example, if you are cybernetics actually introduces some kind of optimal filters and feedbacks, and using those things, actually what happens that if you modify, for example, you know that when you are driving a car these days, what happens that when you rotate your steering, you need not to rotate the steering too much. You are only rotating the steering some, but what happens that by seeing the feedback, your tires are going to rotate much. Why? So that you don't have much pressure on you get good feeling. Means what happens that you are only rotating less, but your things are actually getting rotated more, so that you need not to do everything by yourself. You are just telling that I want to go into this particular direction, and related thing are actually handled by the system. So using feedback, because you know that if system goes more than the expected, then you can again rearrange the things and make it into the right direction. So using feedback and using some optimal kind of filters, you will make the things better. So it is also related to the same concept that when the weights are there, if there is a neuron, so what happens that there are weights are there. If you increase the weight, what would happen that thing, it is just a kind of a scaling. So what happens that only small changes are reflected to the better things. So this is an interesting idea, because later that has been used to design the perceptron. So I was talking about this particular neural architecture that actually gave that the values are going to be inputted over here. But using cybernetics and other things, then the idea came that instead of feeding the values to the actually processing unit, there are some weights. You understand that this thing actually brings that there is a possibility of weight, and whenever there is a value going, then there is a weight and there is a summation thing can come into the picture. And this actually lead to the actual recent means the mostly used architecture of the perceptron that we use these days. So it came around 1954. It is too old, and we have few minutes back talking about the Medellin. That was the first perceptron-based learning system that was actually developed to remove echoes from the telephone lines. Very important experiment that actually Hubble and Wiesel has converted and conducted, and they wanted to find out that what is the visual cortex, how our visual cortex is working, and they actually introduced some of the electrodes into the brain of a cat and try to find out that when it gets fired. So they have actually understood, and they have actually derived that what happens that when there is a change into the visual scene, then only the neural networks are actually going to be fired. So they thought that based on the lines looks like that linear and linear edges, these things are very important for the visual understanding, and then those things are being applied to the computer vision domain. Around 1965, people talked about the multi-level perceptron that we have just talked about, that using a single perceptron may not be that powerful, and using multiple perceptron, we can make the better things. And very important thing is that you know that when you do the logic, what happens that if you come up with any kind of function, you talk it about this later also. If you come up with any kind of function, I can break down into some SOAP or POS form. SOAP or POS form, and these forms are actually enables us to make the AND and OR gate at some particular point, and then using those things we can build the efficient system using only 2 layers deep thing. So after that, a long period of time, there was very less progress into this particular field, and people were not talking about this much. Why this came? Actually, this thing came because we were able to tell that people were able to tell that what is the architecture, but it was very difficult to train at that particular time. So you know that multiple things were responsible, and one very important thing was that they don't know that how to find out the weight when the network becomes deep. And this is in this particular direction. 1986 was a very important area when people actually started using something called the back propagation to find out the actual parameters of the system. And what is the back propagation? And actually, back propagation is not a new idea. Actually, it is related to something. Something to the gradient descent, and people were into the many other fields were using that, but in the computer science domain, this was the first time that when people started using this particular thing. And then after that, when the back propagation came, actually, then it was actually become possible to find out the parameter for large MLPs, and therefore the research field again, and they just started once again. People developed something called the LSTM, and that was a very old model. You can see that in 1997, I think I have put it at the wrong place. So it should be, I think, here, somewhere. I think here. It should be, I think, somewhere here, I think. Okay. So people have introduced the LSTM, and using LSTM, they were able to do that. And one more thing that few minutes back that I talked about, that using sufficient only 2 layers deep thing, you can build anything. So there was a concept called the universal approximation theorem that tells that using neural network you can build any you can model any function. For example, if you have any model, any complex model, so it says that you can build a neural network system, and that would be very near to this particular function. If your function is very complex, then you can build a neural network for that, and your neural network would be very near to that particular function with a very high accuracy. And this was a very interesting thing to say, that any function we can build using neural networks. Then around 1997, LSTM was proposed that, and after that, around 1998, Lee Kuhn has proposed the convolution neural network convolnet for the MNST digit databases. So very important thing that I wanted to point out here, that this LSTM and ConvNets, these were proposed around 1998, and this was, you can think that people were talking so much about these things, but still they were not able to train all these models, and their results they were not able to achieve at that particular point when they were applying to the other domains. So that was a very strange kind of thing that people have actually talked about this, and then again people started thinking that looks like that things are not working, it is not going to be good, and people actually again forget about, then again forget about all these things, and it was again a bad time for neural network, but nobody was talking about the neural networks at that particular time. They thought that handcrafted method was going to be good. So this area, this actually after that, actually this particular area, people were talking about the handcrafted method. So you may think that Sift and Surf, ORB, these kind of methods actually came into existence into the computer vision domain, and actually handcrafted method has actually surpassed all these results. So that was fantastic. People are thinking that okay, only these kind of methods are going to work after that. But around 2006, again something happened that was actually unsupervised pre-training. They actually introduced some concept that if you want to train very big things, you can do it unsupervised way. Means you need not to find out all the things over there. So again, automatic training of the bigger network has become possible. And into the speech recognition domain, around 2010, actually again the neural network has shown that very excellent performance was they were able to achieve. Very quickly people again started talking about this thing, and they have actually applied to the other domain. And in that time, new ImageNet based some competition was going on into the computer vision, and LXNet, very important architecture, that was expired by this ConvNet only. They were used the same concept to apply over here. LXNet has applied the same concept on a database that is called the ImageNet. And very important thing is this, that at that particular time, ImageNet competition was running for last 2 years, and the error on that particular database was how much? 26%. And the LXNet actually reduced this error to the 16%, very large margin. So you may think that it was a wonderful thing. However, this is not the best accuracy that they can achieve. Next year, the next architecture came, that was a ZFNet. They told that because it was if they firstly introduced, so they can modify this to reduce it to 12 till 12. So if they do some kind of changes, their model means LXNet can also was able to find out the best accuracy of the 12%. So this from 26 to 12%, you can think that the power they have, people have actually realized that it has, this particular kind of network has a very high power, and 12% only error is possible at that particular time. Next year, next network came, that is a VGG on the same line of the deep learning. A VGG network came. It has further reduced the error from 12 to 7.3%. Next year, Google LeanNet 6.7%, and then Microsoft ResNet 3.6%. And then after that, you can see in 17 DenseNet and the transformers in 18 and UNet, and these kind of architecture actually have came that have done wonderful things into the computer vision domain. So this is the brief history of the neural networks. And very importantly, you should understand that what are the important things over here. You have seen that there were people were talking much about this, then people are not talking much about this, then again talking about this, and then again becomes less hopeful. And after that, they are onto the hype, and now we can think we are here that in deep learning arena we are at the very hype into the system. All right, so this is what the important point is that we want to discuss over here. So let us. Any questions till now? Atharv, any question? Gauransh, any questions? No? So let us go and technically understand once again that what are the parts. Till now we have only seen that there is a very simple kind of architecture on which we are going to apply the thing. So let us decode more and try to find out, try to understand more. So single perceptron, we have few minutes back, we have few slides back seen that there are few values, 1, x1, x2, xn, and values are going to be given, and then the weights are also associated with that, and there is we assume that there is a one more weight, that is x0, and the weight is w0, then there is a, looks like that there is a summation unit that find out what is the summation of weighted summation unit, that find out what is the summation of wi xi. Then it applies a thresholding on that and try to see that if the value is greater than this threshold, it is going to be positive, otherwise it is going to say the negative. So output could be 1 or -1. You can anyway change to the 0 and whatever. You can tell that what is the output over there. A single perceptron can represent many Boolean function. It is a Boolean function because output is only 0 and 1. This particular kind of network, this system is going to be a Boolean function. It is output are going to be 0 and 1, plus and plus 1 minus 1, red and green. So it's a Boolean function. It can represent many Boolean function. What does it mean by? What do I mean by this? You know that this thing essentially means what? W0 x1 plus W. 1 minute. It essentially means that W0 x0 plus W1 x1 plus W2 x2 dot 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 is greater than equal to threshold or not, is equal to greater than 0 or not. Okay, this kind of equation it is. You know that you can change these parameters. Why W0 could be 2, 3, 3, these values. You can change these value. If you change this value, then what would happen? That instead of this decision boundary, you get this decision boundary. Your decision boundary changes when you change the parameters. So a single perceptron can represent many Boolean functions. If you change what? If you change W's. Understand? If you change the W's, the same thing is going to represent a different Boolean function. In fact, any m of n function, m of n function means what? That you know that how many inputs are there? N inputs are there. Okay, out of n, if I say m of n means what? N is, let's assume that in number of input is 10. 10 values are going to be provided. So what is n? I say, let me take the smaller number. Let me say that n is equal to, let me say n is equal to 3. Okay, so m could be 0, 1, 2, or 3. I can take these things. Okay, if I say 2, let me focus on 2. So what is the x? X is equal, there are 3 values. So it would be x1, x2, x3. So what could be their values? Let me just also say that these values are 0, 1, because let's assume that they are fed using some other there are some other neural perceptron, they are feeding the values. So the value could be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. These 8 values are possible. So my output is going to be, if the value of m is equal to 2, so means when there is 2 or more things are 1, then the value is going to be 1. So you can see that here it would be 1, here it would be 1, here it would be 1, but here it is 0, here it is 1, here it is 0, here it is 0, here it is 0. You understand? This is a 2 out of 3 function. Any problem in that? So 2 or more. Actually, when I say that m of n means 2 or more. So if I represent this kind of function, so this function I can always represent using the single perceptron. A single perceptron can represent this function. Okay. When m is equal to 1, means all these places it is 1, all these places it is 1. When m is equal to 1, it is a OR gate. When m is equal to n, it is a AND gate. Okay. When all the values are 1, then only it is going to be 1. When any of them is going to be 1, then it is a OR gate. You can think that in that term also, that it can also work as a AND or OR gate. Later we would explore that 2 layers neural networks means if you only have the 2 layers of neural networks, they can represent any Boolean function. Later we would see. Right now, only from this particular side, you need not to understand. I'm just written this. We would later see and discover this. All right. So from this slide, what is the takeaway? What is the takeaway? That what is the architecture of this architecture of the perceptron? What is the architecture of perceptron? You have seen that the architecture of perceptron is this, and it can represent many Boolean function. If you change the values of these w's, you are going to get a different function. And any m of n function, can be represented by this thing. Okay. So let us see an example. You are with me, so you can. I need your participation now. So I need your participation this particular moment. So let me give you an example. This is a perceptron. Everybody understand this? What is the weight? Minus 30, 20, and 20. X1 and X2 are the two inputs that are going to be given. Let's assume that X0 is equal to 1. So just for sake of completeness. Okay. So if I give this input 0, 0, what would be the output? Can you tell me what is the output? So you know that using this thing, you can write the equation into this particular way. You can say that I think minus 30 plus 20 into x1 plus 20 into x2. This is what the equation is. This particular thing represents this equation. If the value is 0, 0, then what you are going to get? So this is 0. This is also 0. So you get minus 30. Summation is going to be minus 30. Is it greater than 0? No. So the output is going to be 0. What is the output? Can anybody write? Atharva, is it 0? Yes or no? Orange, is it 0? Yes. Okay. So the output is 0. So my question is for 0, 1, what is the output? Can you tell me? All of you. 0, again 0. Okay. Because you know that this value is multiple. This is minus 30. And then if it is 0, then this value becomes 0. Then the second value is 20 multiplied by 1. It is again minus 10. And therefore the output is 0. So what about 1, 0? It is again going to be 0. What about 1, 1? What about 1, 1? It is 1, because you know that minus 30 plus 20 plus 20 becomes 10, and 10 is greater than 0. Therefore, the output is 1. Okay, so can you see this particular table? Does it remind you anything? 0, 0, 0, 1. Which kind of truth table it is? It is AND gate. It is AND gate. What is this? AND gate. It is logical AND gate. So this is the circuit of logical AND gate. Can you see this? This is a circuit of logical AND gate. If I put W0 is equal to minus 10, means here this value is equal to W0 is equal to minus 10. So if you change this, you would be getting here into the 0, 0, it is 0 only, because then it would be minus 10. But whenever you put a 1 over here or here, you are going to get the summation of what? Minus 10 plus 20 plus 0 is equal to 10. So these values becomes 1. These values becomes 1. So what is this thing? 0, 1, 1, 0. It is OR. So if W0 is equal to minus 10, it is going to be the OR gate. Similarly, if instead of two things, if there is only one, if there is only one input, okay, means I say that this is not available. If I say that W2 is not there, only W1 is there, only one variable is there, and I say that W0 is equal to 10 and W2 is equal to minus 20, what would happen? Only one variable is there, so there is no case. So what would happen? That there would be X1 and output. So 0 and 1, these are the two input possible. So the equation becomes 10 minus 20x, kind of this. When it is 0, the value is 10, becomes 1. When it is 1, when x is equal to 1, then this value becomes 0. So what is this? This is the NOT gate. You can see that the values are going to be reversed. 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0. When you put 0 inside, you get 1 output. When you put 1 out as an input, you get 0 as an output. So this is a NOT gate. Have you seen this? So a single thing can represent all the kind of gate. And you know that when you have, very important thing is, you know that from the digital electronics, you know that if there is a AND gate and you add NOT in front of this, so you get a universal NAND gate. Or similarly, you can get the NOR gate also. Using one in NAND or NOT gate, you can build what? Only using NAND or NOT gate, you can using NAND you can build AND or not in anything. And using the single thing, you may think that all the, because AND or not are the only operation that you apply into the Boolean functions, so all kind of Boolean function can be constructed. Boolean function means any, if you come up with any kind of Boolean function, means any function that gives you the output as a 0 and 1, you can build any of those kind of function using this kind of architecture. Make sense? Any questions on that? Make sense? Yes. However, XOR is not possible. What do I mean by this? That if I say that the data is this, if I put here 0, 0 and here 1, so let me say that these are the data point. These are the data point. So everybody, this is the 0, 0, this is 0, 1, this is 1, 1, this is the 0, 1. All right. So if I say that, you know the XOR, what is XOR? If I say that XOR is going to be 1 over here and 0 at this particular place. At 0, 0, it is 0. 0, 0, it is 0. So I say that it is 0, 0, 0. At 1, 1, it is 0. It is 0. At 0, 1, it is green, and here it is green. So again, can you find out a can you find out a perceptron for that? Here the answer is no, because perceptron is going to be only linear decision boundary. I'm talking about a very important question. People many other time ask this question in your interview. That can you make a OR gate XOR? Answer is no. You cannot deploy this because they are only linear decision boundary. Whatever linear, for example, if you draw this, so this is correct, this is correct, but this is wrong. Where you can draw a line? If you draw a line, this is wrong. You can draw a line like this. This line is anyway not going to work because both the things are one side. So definitely you can have to draw a line like this, and whatever line you draw, one side there will be at least one point you are going to give the error. So XOR is not possible. You cannot make using XOR. But the point is, very important thing, that using one perceptron you cannot make the XOR, but multi-layer, if you can use multiple layers of the perceptron, then you can make it. Okay, if you use one hidden layer, it is called the universal Boolean function. So these things will come later also. It is called the universal Boolean function, and then it can solve those things. Make sense? So we are just talking about the power of a single perceptron, and we have seen that the single perceptron is capable of representing any kind of gates, that basic gates and are not, and using that thing we can build any kind of circuits. Hope it is clear to you. We have seen that whatever perceptron is given to you, it represents a decision boundary, and that you can write using equation. And in your region, if you draw this particular line, then one side it would be a positive region, other side it would be a negative region. So this is a basic important thing. Now I'm going to ask a question. Design a perceptron for this particular table. What do you mean by this? That perceptron weight be such that when I'm going to give 0, 0, it gives 0, 0, 1, it gives 0, 1, 0, it gives 1, 1, 1, it gives 0. First thing that you should ask, that whether this data is linearly separable or not. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So let me try to see that whether it is a linearly separable data or not. 0 0 it is 0, and 0 1 0 1 it is 0 1. I think it is 1 0. I think I have done the wrong thing. 0 1, this is the 0 1 point, it is 0. 1 1 it is 0, and here it is green. So can I draw a line? Yes, I can draw a line like this. So this can do the right classification. Let us find out the parameter. Okay, let us find out the parameter for this. So how can we find out the parameter for this? We know that, let's assume that this is the perceptron that is going to solve my purpose. These are the weights. We have to find out what is the right weight for this. From the first line, we say, what is the equation? For this, the equation is W0 plus W1x1 plus W2x2. This is what the equation is. So when the values are 0 and 1, 0 and 0, this x1, 0, x2 is 0, then it becomes, then it should be less than 0, because we have to output 0. So we write this equation that W0 plus W10, this is less than 0. This is the equation we write. This equation gives us that W0 should be less than 0. So what's the problem? I can pick any value. Let's pick that W0 is equal to -1. Any problem in that? All right, very good. So what is the next equation? What is the next problem? What is the next equation? Next equation says that 0 1 means this value is 0, this value is 1. Means what? That W0 plus W2 should also be less than 0, because we have to give the output as a 0. What is the value of W0? -1. We have actually selected this. What is the value of W2? It should be less than 0. So what value you can take for the W2? Any value you can take. Let us also take W2 is equal to -1. Any problem in that? Okay. Two values we have. See the third equation. It is a 1 0. It means that, and it should be 1. Okay. So it says that W0 plus W1 into 1 plus W2 into 0 should be greater than 0. Why greater than 0? Because I want 1. So this what happens, that this vanishes, and we get the equation that W0 plus W1x should be greater than 0. So what should be the value of W1? I can take W1 is equal to 3. What is the problem? It's a positive value. Third equation, R1, let's see, if you are not satisfied, I have to take 1, because W0 is equal to -1, na? And I need a positive value. So let me say that W1 is equal to 2. Let me say that W1 is equal to 2. What is the third equation? 1 1. So it gives me this particular representation, W0 plus W1 into 1 plus W2 into 1 is less than 0. We have picked some value. This is -1, and this is +2 plus -1 we have also taken for this. It becomes 0. So this is not a good thing. That's why I'm telling that instead of using this, if I take this thing as a 3, then I think I cannot take, this should be less than 0. So can I take the 1.5? I think I should take 1.5. 1.5. If I take the W2 is equal to 1.5, if I take this value as 1.5, so my things are going to be solved. So this is how we can proceed. So W0 is equal to -1, then summation should be less than, so I can take the W2 also -1, W1, W2 greater than 0. If I take W1 is equal to 1.5, so third equation is also valid. So therefore we can find out that what is the value of W's? -1, -1, 1.5. Please note down that this is not a single value. Everybody is okay with this, that this discovery, that what is the value of W's? So for this problem, these are the values of W's. Can you write yes, that you understand this for a fact? Yes. Okay. So I wanted to tell you this at this particular moment, that instead of this, if I use -10, -10, and 15, these are also the right values. So there are multiple such values whenever, because I can always do a linear combination, scaling of all these values, and we can find out again a different parameter that is also going to be suitable for me. Okay. So this is the one way by which you can discover that what is the parameters. So one way, few minutes back we have seen that using W is equal to W0 plus eta time target minus output into xi. We have seen that one such method was this. And here we have seen another method that you can directly use the mathematical equation to find out this. But many of the time this method is not being used because number of training examples are actually very large, and then we cannot deploy these kind of thing because sometime we may get into inconsistent states. Okay, now I have a question. Can you design a network for this? Once again, the same question. Can you design a network for this? So multi-layer networks means can you connect multiple things and give me the same output? So I'm going to give you the idea that what is the idea of the network. So you may think that instead of using this thing, so you know that you want what you want. On this particular input, you want this output. So you can find out an observation that because you know that into the digital logic, you know that if there is one, only one place one, so it should be equal to at what place? It should be at what place? When these values are 1 1, then it should be 1. But generally you know that what is the AND gate? 1 and 1 is equal to 1. So if this value becomes 1, then I would be done. I can take the AND of this thing and I can get the same thing. Because you know that AND circuit, you know that. A few minutes back we have talked about that, how to make the AND circuit of the using the multi-level perceptron. So using so how can I get 1 over here? It is 0. So what I can do that I can take the x2 bar. If I take the x2 bar, 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0, 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0. They are reversed. Now I'm going to combine these two things, this thing and this thing, and I'm going to take AND of that. Can you tell me that what is the AND? It is 0 1 0 1 0 1. So AND is 0. It is 0 0 and is 0. It is 1 1, then it becomes 1. It is 1 0, it becomes 0. So the same thing I got, 0 0 1 1. So this is what I wanted to get. Okay, so what we have discovered that instead of when x and y are going to be given as input, when x and y are going to be given as input, you use x and x bar as an output. So on the output layer, you take the value of x1, you take the value of x1, and this value should be reverse of what? X2. So if I take the x2, and you know the NOT gate is minus 20 and 10, if you supply this thing and you put a perceptron over here the weight is 0, so that I'm not going to consider this. So this perceptron is going to give you what? Negative of x2. So I have deployed a perceptron. This perceptron that is 1 minute. I have deployed this perceptron that gives you the x bar over here at this particular place. So for this, what is the input? X bar and x2 bar and x1. And using these things, you know that what is the output? This is going to be the output. Any problem? So this arrangement, you can think that multiple layers we can use, and we can find out that whatever thing we wanted to get, we can prepare that. But one very important thing that I wanted to tell you, that this arrangement is mostly avoided, because finding out the right parameter, because here we know that what is the parameter, then we have built it. But the right parameter, if this table is very large and we have to find out that what is the value of weights, so it becomes very difficult to find out weights into that particular way. When the connection of one layer is there 2 layers back, and these kind of complex connections are there, then it becomes very difficult to find out the right parameters. So I have told you that this is a possibility, but we are going to avoid this kind of scenarios. We are not going to make this. Okay, so this slide is give you the idea that why the multi-level perceptron are going to be important. So what is the basic, what is the good idea? Good idea is this, that you put everything into one layer, then you put in next layer, then you put into the next layer. Whatever number of layers is required, you are going to put over there. Connections are going to be between the layer n and n-1 only. So this is the fully connected architecture, and mostly people have the fully connected architecture only. If you want to reduce the number of things, you actually means that weights are 0. Here what is there, that in this layer, let's assume that there are 4 perceptron, here 4 perceptron, here 2 perceptron, here 3 perceptron. So what did this specify, you would signify, we would be talking about later, but right now I wanted to tell you that based on your requirement, we would come back in more details very soon. Based on your requirement, you can put the things into layers. When you are going to put the things into the layers, so one layer items are completely fully connected with the previous things. So you can see that here everything is connected. Here everything is connected over here. And this is not connected to anything over here, as we have done into the previous thing. So this is a network architecture that we are in general going to utilize. Make sense? This is the fully connected network architecture. Number of layers may differ based on the requirement, based on the problem for which you are devising this thing. Number of layer may differ. Nodes in each intermediate layer may also differ. Here 4 is there, sometime possible here 5 could be there, here 6 would be there. That depends upon the problem and the requirements. Okay. If in the output, if the two things are there, means what? That looks like it is a classification problem where 2 classes are there. If there are 3 classes, we can put 3. 4 classes, we can put 4 perceptrons over here. 2 layers deep neural network can represent any Boolean function. So I want to explain now that what do I mean by this. Very important line. And few minutes back, a few slides back, we are actually talking about that. We would be discussing into the later slides. 2-level deep neural network can represent any Boolean function. Any Boolean function. You can come up with any Boolean function. What do I mean by this? You come up with any Boolean function. Boolean function means what? His output is going to be only 0 and 1. You know from digital logic that any Boolean function can be represented as a SOAP or POS form. What is the SOAP form? SOAP form, sum of product, means if there are input is x1, x2, x3, you can say that x1 sum of product. So find out the product, x2 bar plus x3 x1 bar x2 plus ... The equation is going to be in this particular form. Whatever network circuit you come up with, I can always convert that circuit to this particular form. So I'm not going to much detail. You can always come up into this particular form, or you can always come into this particular form. x1 plus x2 bar x3 plus x1 plus x2 ... where there is a multiplication of the summation terms. This is called the POS form, product of sum form. So if this kind of things is there, please focus for 1 minute. If this kind of thing, if you come up with any function, any Boolean function, it would be equivalently represented by this particular way. It can equivalently be represented into this particular way. Fine, can be represented into this particular way. This thing is a dot product, and you know that how to make the, here you can put 1 perceptron, and you know that what is the value need to be set over here into the weight to find out this product form. And because you can find out now what we put over here to get the AND. Similarly for this also we can put another and get an AND form. This also we can put appropriate weights and find out that dot product. So for every literal, for everything, we can put 1 perceptron over here. And into the next layer, since we have to add all these things, I would put 1 perceptron and I connect them. And here also we know that what is the appropriate weights. So any function you can come up with, I can turn it into the SOAP or POS form, and then using 2 layers only, I can represent that thing into my neural network. So this is the power of the neural network. Okay. So many things are there, but we would continue to the next class. So that's all for today.